2012 Standard Specifications for Construction Division 1. This module will review the significant changes in Division 1. There have been significant changes to Division 1, including a revision to the active voice, more use of outline format, incorporation of special provisions, a significant reorganization that includes moving all payment provisions into 109, and a sequence for contract revisions which is contained in 109.05. To give an example of the active voice revision, I'll use an example from 104.03. The 2003 specification reads, "Deviations from the plans for the work or from working drawings will not be permitted without the written order of the engineer." In the 2012 book, this same specification reads, "The contractor must not deviate from the plans or from department-approved working drawings and design calculations unless the deviation is approved by the engineer in writing." This makes it very clear that the contractor must not deviate and the engineer must approve. To illustrate the change to the outlined format, I'll use an example from 105.01 of the 2003 Standard Specifications. The first paragraph discusses requirements for materials or fabricated items and has a series of sentences that explain the responsibilities of the contractor, as shown in this slide. In the 2012 book, we've taken the same information and put it into outlined format. Unless otherwise required by the contract, the contractor must A. provide new materials, B. provide the information requested on the testing order, and so on. Section 101, Terms, Formats, and Definitions. The 2012 Spec Book has incorporated 03 SP 101A, Special Provision for Definition Changes, into Section 101. In addition, some new definitions have been added. Limits of earth disturbance is defined as the area extending 10 feet outside the slope stake line, except adjacent to wetlands where the limits of earth disturbance is at the slope stake line. This definition is used to determine clearing pay limits in subsection 201.04a. Liquidated damages are monetary damages paid by the contractor to the department for work not completed on time. Subsection 108.10, Liquidated Damages, describes the assessment of liquidated damages. Mathematically and materially unbalanced bids are two new definitions in the 2012 Standard Specifications. A mathematically unbalanced bid is a bid that does not reflect reasonable actual costs for labor, equipment, materials, plus reasonable profit, overhead, and other indirect costs. This is sometimes seen in unit prices that are bid at a penny. Materially unbalanced bid is a bid that gives a reasonable doubt that a bidder with a mathematically unbalanced bid will result in the lowest ultimate cost. The title of Section 102 has changed in the 2012 book to Submission, Award, and Execution of Contract. Section 102 has been updated to reflect the current electronic bid procedures. In addition, much of 102.14, Construction Project Schedule, has been moved to the 2012 book Section 108, Prosecution in Progress. Section 103, Scope of Work, will look a lot different than it did in the 2003 book. We've moved some of the subsections to other areas of the 2012 book, and we've added some new provisions. In the 2012 book, subsection 10302 has changed in title to Revisions to the Contract. Subsection 10302B2 has changed the allowable maximum adjustment for major items of work when they decrease below 75% of the original contract quantity. The allowable maximum adjustment cannot exceed 75% of the original contract quantity times the contract unit price. Subsection 10302D, suspension of work ordered by the engineer, is a new subsection in the 2012 book that incorporates parts of 2003 subsection 10401B, authority of the engineer to suspend work. Subsection 10302F, eliminated work, is a new subsection that replaces old 10905, adjustments for eliminated items. Subsection 10303, Contractor-Engineer Communication, is a new subsection in the 2012 book. It gives requirements for written contractor notice and written engineer response for significant changes in the character of work, differing site conditions, or suspension of work ordered by the engineer. In the 2003 book, subsection 10303, Adjustments, was used to determine payment for significant changes in differing site conditions. This subsection has been eliminated from the 2012 book. Now, payments for significant changes in differing site conditions will be in accordance with 2012 10905. This simplifies payment by putting all payment provisions into 109. Subsection 10305 in the 2003 book, Traffic Control, has been moved. Most of 10305 has been moved to Division 8, Incidental Construction. However, some parts of 10305 have been moved to a new subsection in 104 called Work Zone Safety and Mobility. Subsection 10306 in the 2003 book, Maintenance During Construction, has been moved to subsection 10407 in the 2012 book, Contractor Obligations. In the 2003 book, subsection 10307, Final Cleanup, has been moved in its entirety to the 2012 book, subsection 10407, Contractor Obligations. Section 104, Control of the Work. Old subsection 10401B, Authority of the Engineer to Suspend Work, has been moved to a new subsection in the 2012 book, 10302D, Suspension of Work Ordered by the Engineer. Subsection 10401C, Authority of the Engineer to Direct the Acceleration of Work, is a new provision in the 2012 book. This provision only applies when the engineer directs the contractor to accelerate work for avoiding user delay costs or to complete the project early. This provision does not apply when the contractor is behind schedule. When the contractor is directed to accelerate work, payment is made in accordance with subsection 10905F. The 2003 book did not have provisions for directed acceleration. Subsection 10404, Conformity with the Contract, replaces old subsection 10404, Conformity with the Plans and Specifications. In the old book, the references to material specifications have been moved to the new book, subsection 10508, Non-Conforming Materials. Subsection 10407, Contractor Obligations, builds on old 10407, Cooperation by the Contractor, by combining other subsections from the 2003 book. Added to the new 10407 are the old 10306, Maintenance During Construction, 10307, Final Cleanup, 10410, Safety and Health Requirements, and 10804, Competence of Contractor Supervision. The majority of 2003 subsection 10409 lines, grades, and elevations, has been moved to new 2012 Division 8, Section 824. Subsection 104.10, claims for extra compensation or time extension, has incorporated the requirements of Bureau of Highways Instructional Memorandum 2008-02, Review of Contractor Claims. Subsection 104.11, Work Zone Safety and Mobility, is a new subsection that expands upon the old 104.11 limitations for construction equipment on or crossing pavements and structures. It updates the requirements as well as adds language to incorporate work zone safety and mobility manual requirements. One of the new requirements is that the contractor develop and provide a work zone traffic control plan. Subsection 104.12, Approval for the Use of Right-of-Way, is a new subsection in the 2012 book. It provides a process for the contractor to request approval for the use of right-of-way for construction of the project, requires a written request by the contractor and a written response from the engineer, and it requires specific information from the contractor that is spelled out in the specification. It incorporates some of the old specification 105.06, storage of materials. Section 105, Control of Materials. Subsection 105.08, Nonconforming Materials, replaces the old subsection 105.08, Unacceptable Materials. In the new specification, there are alternatives defined for nonconforming materials that include accepting the materials with a guarantee bond or a reduction in unit price, or rejecting the materials and requiring full replacement. Section 106, Quality Assurance Acceptance Program. In the 2003 book, Section 106 described the procedures for accepting materials using the percent within limits statistical methods. All of this information has been moved to the Quality Assurance Manual, except the first paragraph. Now there's reference made to the contract and the Quality Assurance Manual for details of the percent within limits. Section 107, Legal Relations and Responsibilities to the Public. Subsection 107.12, Contractor's Responsibility for Utility Property and Services. In the 2003 book, specific information was given to contact Metro Region personnel for utility property and services information. This contact information has been removed from the 2012 book. Now, the contractor must contact the maintenance representative at the appropriate MDOT region office to receive the most current information. Subsection 107.15A4, Demolition or Renovation Notification, is a new subsection in the 2012 book. It requires that the contractor must not begin demolition of any building or structure without first submitting appropriate notifications as required by the contract. Subsection 107.15B and C, Construction Sites Stormwater Runoff and Control of Hazardous and Polluting Materials, have been enhanced to include requirements of the stormwater permit from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and the Environment. Section 108, Prosecution and Progress. Subsection 108.05, Progress of the Work, incorporates the progress schedule requirements that were in old Section 102.14, Construction Progress Schedules. Old subsection 108.02, Performance of the Work, has been moved into new 108.05b, Prosecution of the Work. If the contractor falls behind schedule, the engineer may require updated progress schedules detailing the efforts that the contractor will make to get back on schedule and complete the contract on time. These additional efforts do not qualify as directed acceleration that are described in 10401C, and they are not compensable. The old 10803, Limitations of Operations, has been moved in part to the new book in 10408, Cooperation by the Contractor. This includes the language pertaining to disputes between two or more contractors. In the new book, subsection 10803, Competence of Workers, has stronger language to ensure the competence of the workers on the project. The old 10804, Competence of Contractor Supervision, has been relocated to the 2012 10407, Contractor Obligations. Subsection 10808E gives the formula for increasing contract time based on increased contract quantities. The formula remains the same. However, the calculated extension of time cannot exceed the actual number of days required to do the work. This is a change from the 2003 book. Subsection 10809B, Compensable Delays, is a new subsection in the 2012 book. This subsection addresses delays that could not have been reasonably foreseen by the contractor and may result in compensation to the contractor. This subsection incorporates the first section of the 2003 book 10903, Payments for Increased Contractor Costs, and subsections 10302, Changes in the Work, that includes significant changes in the character of work, differing conditions, engineer-ordered suspensions, extra work, and eliminated work. Any costs that the contractor may have incurred due to these delays would be reimbursed to the contractor in accordance with subsection 10905E, Delay Costs. Subsection 10809C, Non-Excusable Delays, is also a new subsection in the 2012 book. This subsection addresses delays that are the contractor's fault or responsibility. These delays are non-compensable and no extensions of time will be granted. Subsection 10810C, Assessment of Liquidated Damages. Liquidated damages are assessed on a project to recover construction engineering costs as required by the federal regulations. In the 2012 book, the liquidated damages table has been updated to reflect actual construction engineering costs. In addition, several new categories have been added to the liquidated damages table. Now there's a category for $10 to $20 million, $20 to $50 million, and a category for $50 million or more. Section 109, Measurement and Payment. In the 2003 book, subsection 10903, Payments for Increased Contractor Costs, has been deleted with portions moved to other places in the 2012 book. Old 10903A has been moved to 10809B, Compensable Delays. 10903C in the 2003 book, Method of Payment, has been revised and moved into the 2012 book 10905E, Delay Costs. In the 2003 book, subsection 10905, Eliminated Work, has been relocated into the 2012 book as 10302F, Eliminated Work. This allows for payment to the contractor for all direct costs incurred on the item prior to the work being eliminated. Subsection 10905, Payment for Contract Revisions, has changed significantly from the 2003 book. All payment provisions are now included in this subsection. Subsection 10905D6, Equipment and Plant, gives new definitions for force account equipment rental rates. We are now defining the base hourly rate of a piece of equipment is equal to the rental rate plus the operating rate, and all three are defined in the standard specifications. The standby rate for equipment is equal to 50% of the rental rate. In no case shall payment for equipment rental exceed the cost of the equipment. Subsection 10905D10A, Force Account Employee Earnings Statements, has a new requirement. That statement must now show the employee earnings to date. This is because unemployment insurance is only paid on a portion of an employee's earnings, and once the employee exceeds those earnings, there is no unemployment insurance charge. In order to accurately determine if unemployment insurance is a cost of this additional work, it is necessary to know the employee earnings to date. Subsection 10906C in the 2003 book, Material Stockpiled Off-Site, has been eliminated. That information has been combined with new subsection 10904B, Delivered and Stockpiled Materials. There have been no major changes in the way this payment is made. Subsection 10905E, Delay Costs, is a new subsection in the 2012 book and replaces in part old 10903C, Payments for Increased Contractor Costs. This specification gives a methodology for payment for compensable delays as defined in subsection 10809B. Subsection 10905F, Directed Acceleration, explains how to compensate a contractor when they have been directed to accelerate work by the engineer in order to avoid user delay costs or to complete the project early. The directed acceleration compensation to the contractor does not include compensation for acceleration when it's done in accordance with 10805B, prosecution of the work. This acceleration is done by the contractor to get back on schedule when they have fallen behind, and this does not qualify for reimbursement under directed acceleration. Subsection 10905G, Unrecoverable Costs, is a new subsection in the 2012 book. This covers items such as loss of anticipated profit, consequential damages, indirect costs, attorney fees, litigation fees, and field or home office overhead, except as provided in other provisions in the book. These costs are typically not recoverable costs, meaning the contractor is not compensated for these costs. Subsection 10907, Final Inspection, Acceptance, and Final Payment, includes some new subsections that address interim acceptance of projects. Subsection 10907A, Partial Acceptance, allows for the acceptance of completed portions of work on a project. This is generally considered to be 100% completion of portions of the work or locations of the work. It relieves a contractor of maintenance responsibilities. It's not final acceptance, and it does not relieve the contractor for responsibilities from defective work. In the Final Inspection, Acceptance, and Final Payment subsection, the Delayed Acceptance subsection discusses acceptance of such items as pavement markings, plantings, etc. It is not final acceptance and does not relieve the contractor for responsibility to repair defective work. Section 150, Mobilization. There have been no significant changes to this section from the 2003 version.